Hey there, YouTube. I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me again today. I have Amanda with me again. She's going to share a little information here with us. So let's jump right in it. Today we're going with Amanda's top 5 raw food diet tips. Guys, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go down and hit that subscribe button now. Then click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. And we're getting closer with Amanda's channel. She's like working out a few of the last minute things on it, but she's got lots of ideas, and I'm real excited for her channel to come out. But today I just thought different perspective. I've done these before. I've done tips myself until I'm about blue in the face. So I thought it'd be interesting to hear from Amanda, since she does this a little bit differently than me. So take it away, Amanda. What are your top 5 raw food diet tips?
So the number one for me, at least, is getting enough greens and or sprouts, whether that's green juice, whether that's salads, whether you're making raw sushi, any of those dishes, or any of the more gourmet raw dishes. If you can get in more greens, that's really important. I don't know if in history at some point our soil was rich enough for fruit to have had more minerals in it, but it's just the world that we live in now that you need to get in your greens to get enough minerals, hands down. And I do really recommend sprouts as well. I need to do a lot more research in those to really talk about them, but they are extremely healthy. They have a lot of nutrition that's supposed to be more bioavailable for us, and they are really cost effective to do yourself at home. So I think that it's a great hack, especially in the world that we have right now, to have access to some fresh food that you're able to do at home, even if you're living in an apartment.
Yes, and it's not that hard. We're just kind of getting started right now. I've just been dabbling a little bit with experiments, but experimenting with a couple of the things I have here. But we're definitely about to get real heavy into hopefully both microgreens and sprouts, because I definitely agree with Amanda big time on that one.
It's great having a roommate that actually eats like I do, because there's like certain things that I can pick up on or certain things he can pick up on. I wouldn't have gotten the sprouts started by now if it were just me, and you got them started, and I'm like, yes! It's really exciting. So yeah, any way that you can get more of those in, and green smoothies are great for that too. My next one would be to, depending on your personality, you might disagree with me on this, but at least for me, it was best to sort of approach it as a transition and to be patient with that. I have gone raw once before where it was intentional, and once where it was kind of not intentional. It was just the thing that was best for me at the time. And the one that was more intentional, I kind of did it overnight in this very aggressive, extreme way where sort of everything changed all at once. And that really backfired for me. I don't really recommend that for most people. If detox is something that you believe strongly in, I mean, for that reason alone, if you're eating standard American diet and then you suddenly go raw, the two extremes of what your body is used to will cause probably a pretty strong detox reaction, which wasn't even where I was coming from. I was coming from a fairly whole food, plant-based position already. So if you're going between those extremes, it can be actually kind of dangerous to do something like that overnight. For me, because I transitioned so quickly, I didn't really have the skill set that I needed when certain cravings came up. I didn't have the understanding really of my body and how it reacted to certain foods when certain things came up. And because everything had changed all at once, it was really hard for me to target which food was doing what, or which face product that I had changed was doing what, because I know along with changing the diet, it's really a whole lifestyle revamp that can happen. And so just changing too many things at once can be stressful for your body. It just needs time to adjust, not to mention your gut health and your microbiome. The bacteria that are in your gut for eating standard American diet are very different than the bacteria that are in there for eating raw vegan or even high raw vegan diet.
So there's actually a transition. There's a time of transition in the bacteria within your gut.
Oh, very much
Oh.
so. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big subject. That's another one that I have read about before, but would love to do more research on. Your gut microbiome can just impact so many different things. It can impact your mood. It impacts things like weight gain or weight loss. It impacts just whether you're in pain, how well you're digesting things,
Right.
whether you're bloating, that kind of thing. So it's easier, in my opinion, to just look at it as a transition and just be patient and be gentle with yourself. Not in the sense where you kind of haven't really committed. Definitely make the commitment, but don't feel like it all has to happen overnight. You'll just probably feel better that way. The next thing, I know you guys have heard this probably a lot. I hope, eat enough. Eat enough. If your calories drop too low, I mean, as a female, there's all kinds of things that can happen as a result of that. It can really mess up your hormones, regardless of whether you're male or female. It can mess that up, particularly if you're someone who's into fitness, which I think a lot of people who sort of go in this health lifestyle with their nutrition, if they go in that direction, they're probably into fitness or some amount of activity to some degree,
Right.
because they clearly care about their health. That's why they're making that transition. So make sure that you eat enough. You want to feel satisfied, but especially when you're starting out, because the calorie density is often so much lower unless you're eating a lot of fat. Because of how low the calorie density is of these foods, you might want to consider tracking your food in something like Chronometer so that you have an idea of just how many calories you're getting in. I'm not saying go binge on 3,000 calories every day. It's not that you need to be getting an extreme, just you need to be getting enough. That also is useful for you to have a good idea of whether you're eating enough grains to really support your mineral needs. So I highly recommend that. I know it can be potentially a little triggering for some people if they're coming from any sort of like restrictive food eating or ED or even food addiction, because there are some elements, I mean, in that for me that had to do with things more like OCD and perfectionism. So wanting
Right.
every day in Chronometer to be this like perfect thing was adding more stress on the situation that it needed to be. So don't look at it like that. Kind of try to take it from a scope of like, over the whole week, did I really cycle through enough things to get enough of my nutrition, and am I eating enough? If that answer is yes, if you're getting the bulk of your nutrition, the bulk of your days, then just don't overanalyze it. Don't go
Right.
too deep in there. If you're that kind of person, because I can relate. I would also recommend, my next tip would be embracing simplicity. And the purpose of that is really to keep things practical. So whatever practical food looks like for you. I know Lissa talks about her fallback 5, and I think that that's fantastic. I highly recommend that, because regardless of what style you're eating, whether it's paleo or standard American or vegetarian or wherever you're coming from, you typically have like the same types of foods that you rotate throughout most weeks. They are things that maybe are easy for you to make, that you have a good recipe for, that you enjoy, that you have regular access to those ingredients, and they're usually not too expensive.
Right.
Foods like that. So not, in that scenario, she talks about fallback 5 recipes, and I think that that's great. Something that has helped me a lot is to accept that, honestly, like the food that I eat, even when it was cooked, I didn't really follow recipes most of the time. I think we do have a similarity in that. Things kind of just wind up being whatever I throw together, whatever I think I need or that I'm craving, or really, really often just the sheer simplicity of like, I'm hungry, apple to mouth.
I was just about to
great.
say, so I'm sure she won't be like this forever, but in the time we've been living together, you're really on the simplicity. You've just kind of been eating fruits, drinking your juice, making your nice cream, a few simple things, but yeah, you're about as simple as it gets, just very much like I do.
for me, I spend so much time at my computer with work and then trying to make that effort to still get in exercise or when we
Right.
go on our walks in the evenings or still connecting with family virtually and all of those things. I just feel like if I don't have to think a bunch about my food, it alleviates stress for me. I don't feel like pressure to constantly have a plan.
You
for
have
what
to.
my
You seem
next-
like you have a zen with it. It's almost like you said with your meetings. If you have a meeting scheduled, you have kind of a different thing you do, but you're always adapting.
Yeah.
You're always adapting, but you're always feeding yourself. You're always hydrating yourself. But
And that just comes from, I mean, not even with raw, but as a vegan and probably before that, because it's just about knowing yourself and what works for your body and what you're able to get through. If your meeting's going to be 3 hours, you probably need to eat before you go in there.
right.
But if your meeting's going to be an hour and you're in a rush, you might be able to get by until the meeting's over and then go stuff your face with some pineapple, you know? This is, doesn't sound like anything I've ever done. Right? And then depending on your situation, like I have clients who are totally cool with me eating while we're in our meeting. Like it's just a thing that we've both done and it happens.
Right.
And that's fine with me too. So it's just adapting and taking the knowledge of what you know you need and where you know maybe some of your where your mistakes might typically come in. I know for me, getting enough greens and getting enough minerals, I have to focus on that. If I'm not focused on that, then I'm probably not getting enough. So I know I have that tendency. So just doing those things and then being a little intuitive, combining that knowledge with your intuition of just knowing yourself and knowing your body and remembering where you're at each time. That takes practice. It just takes practice to get there. And you're not going to get it every time. I still, like this week, I was like, oh, I don't think I've had any like seaweed this week. I haven't had my normal source of iodine yet. And I had like a ton the other night after, like around when I realized that. So things like that, they happen because we get caught up in life.
Right.
So at least for me, the simpler, and it doesn't have to be as simple as how I eat, but whatever that practicality is with your fallback 5 and things that you can always have on hand. Alyssa uses tons of dates in her dressing recipes. You can store those forever. They're not going to go bad. You're good. Like you will always have certain ingredients on hand. You just know that you will. And so if you keep those for the things that you really love eating, it becomes very practical. She also, I love her 30-day meal plan books. I have to say, they're so amazing because the way that she lays things out with how to prep for like your lunch or dinner or whatever, it's a really practical system. If I ate more complex meals, that's how I would be doing things. Right. I just don't. I'm a little lazy, like you in that regard. So the next thing that I would say, which I believe is number 5, let go of your pursuit of purity. It is not serving you. You can let that one go. You're not a fairy princess or whatever you think you're going to be. You're not going to be immortal, which is kind of in the next, I have a bonus one. But we all live on this planet, and this planet is not what it was once. And you could live in the mountains in the middle of nowhere in Costa Rica and maybe have some like reduced exposure to certain things, but if you really could be truly like 100% pure for like literally 1 minute, the next second that you inhale, it's just impossible to be there 100%. Do your best to eat foods that are healthy for you, eat organic when you can afford it, when you have access to it. Do those things. That's great. I do that. But pursuit of purity is not going to serve you.
Right.
It's going to make you feel like this is unachievable.
And I feel it like leaves people, if they almost like have an overcorrection. If they can't be pure, they just, okay, well, if I can't do this, then they just throw their hands up and they tend not to do it long term.
Yeah, like why even try if I can't do this? And I know there's a lot of people on social media who do kind of portray that idea like they are somehow so pure.
Right.
And I think that that's a little disappointing for me sometimes, because I mean, I'm glad that they feel that way, that they feel that amazing. And totally, if you want to get into that spiritual conversation of like, we are all pure souls and all of that, that's great. But the reality of your diet and just existing in this world is like, you're not going to be this like pure being.
Right.
It's just not realistic. So if you let that go, then you can build really your foundation of just consistency in your healthy eating habits. And that's really where the lasting changes and the real improvements and the life-changing decisions come in. So it needs to be sustainable. So the bonus one that I think you might like is that you need to understand that no matter what you do, whether you're raw vegan or a carnivore or whatever you want to eat, you're not immortal. It's not going to make you immortal. Don't disrespect science.
Yeah, no.
It's just not
a big agreement here, yeah.
That's not how it works. You can and will sometimes, probably not often, but you can still get sick. It's not going to make you immortal. That shouldn't really be your goal. The goal should be living a good life without impeding on others' lives, including animals. And however you can best do that is probably your best decision, because people who are living a good life and who are happy are doing nice things for other people. And that makes the world a better place. So yeah, it doesn't make you immortal. And so also in that regard, don't assume that the diet is everything. If your diet's already 90% perfect, don't spend another 90% of your effort that you have to give in a day on making it 100% perfect. Do something else, like find ways to reduce your stress.
Right.
Find ways to connect with more people, build your relationships in your life, because your lifestyle has just as much to do with your health as what goes in your mouth.
In fact, I think it can be detrimental. Some people focus so much, they get so dialed in, and it's not just on the raw food diet, it's on every type of eating. They get so focused in on the way that they're eating that the other stuff is just kind of neglected, and that's part of I just did a video this afternoon talking about overall wellness. Like the true wellness of your body is more than just the food.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that time and time again, because I really, really nerd out about nutrition specifically. Right. So I have this great time of trying to make my diet 100%, and there's just the reality of life within that, and I've come to realize very deeply how much, for example, stress impacts my health. And just the sheer act of trying to go from that like 90% perfect diet to 100% perfect, that 10% can cause so much stress.
Oh, yeah.
And not really be worth it if you actually put them on the scale together in terms of, is it giving you a good life? How are you feeling doing this? What is the impact on your life and the impact on those around you? So it just becomes not worth it. So don't undervalue your relationships. Don't undervalue your stress levels. Those are all part of your health too. And that's everything.
And moving your body and so many other things.
Yeah.
No, that was good. That we had some that were similar, very similar thoughts here. It's just like she says, it's really good having another person similar in the house, because I'm learning. I'm not saying I'm changing tons of things because of her book learning here, but definite tweaking. The video I just said about I'm about to get physical and start getting into fitness again. I'm really looking for her to help me dial in on like the specifics of like kind of filling in those holes, and like those that's why I'm really excited about that, the microgreens and the sprouts. I want to get that. I'm determined. I want to get that going regularly and include that as a everyday part, because like you say, especially here, the greens can be expensive. And these microgreens and these sprouts, they are just like, you're talking so much cheaper with them, and also better nutrition. I mean, these things have mega nutrition in them. So, no, those were all good right there. Yeah.
and they're coming from your home, so you know like where they've been.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yep.
they're COVID free, they're free of pesticides. You
Right.
know all of those things because you grew them yourself. So
And it just feels good to produce a little bit of your own stuff. I mean, people
Yeah.
are always telling me if I was going to be here permanently, yeah, I'd have more stuff growing, but this is not a permanent place. I'm going to end up selling this house, but I feel good that we can at least, I'm hoping within the next 2 months that we will have microgreens, sprouts, and wheatgrass going on a regular basis. And if we do that, I think that will up our personal health a good bit right there, especially going into the winter, like really getting that nutrition tight for the winter.
I'm really looking forward to getting some sprouts in because I'm pretty good with my greens most of the time now. It's not that I
Right.
don't make mistakes still, but my greens are pretty solid. I think that sprouts would definitely up things in a way that actually has enough benefit. Like it doesn't feel like something that's stressful and trying to
Right.
be 100%. It's fairly easy, and I already have the materials to do that. You already have materials for that. I mean, we could have lentil sprouts for
Oh, God.
months.
I mean, seriously, if you hadn't watched the video before, we have a bag sitting in this hallway. Did you say it was 50 or 60 pounds?
Yeah, something around
It's something
there.
like that of organic lentils. So we can go to ground here for a long time if we need to. And I love lentil sprouts.
I bought in bulk online.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I don't know what's happening with the earth right now. So this is something I feel like I should have around.
That's a great idea. All right. Well, thanks, Amanda. Those tips were great. Hope you guys enjoyed those tips. If you like them, please give us a thumbs up. Maybe share some of these videos with your friend, and we'll both be back here to see you again soon. Peace.